biggest ship ever built for the Royal Australian Navy. Clearly, it's something that the Philippine Navy would want to have. No less than the Commander-in-Chief, President Duterte, was given a tour of HMS Adelaide, docked here at the Port of Manila, and will be heading to Subic tomorrow, where it will spend the next 5 days. Now, why is this naval ship here in the country? The visit is part of the Australian Navy's tour around the Indo-Pacific region to promote peace and stability through training and capacity building. Speaking to the Australian troops, the President said he welcomes this effort in the wake of nuclear threats from North Korea. He also told the troops about the country's problem in terrorism and said he expects the Marawi siege to end in a week. Adelaide's main capability is humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and while it's here, the Australian Navy will be showcasing the ship's features to their local counterparts. Just to give you an idea on what is on board this ship, it has a 40-bed hospital with 2 operating theaters. Its flight deck can carry up to 12 helicopters. It can carry more than 100 vehicles and 2,100 tons of cargo. It can move about 1,000 military personnel with their equipment in times of disaster. President Duterte was shown the ship's well-docked medical facility, flight deck, and the bridge and flight control office. And at the end of his speech, in jest, he said, if the Australian Navy decides to decommission HMS Adelaide, they are more than free to dock it back here at the Port of Manila. Ina Andalong, CNN Philippines.
This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pio Ontiveros. Our top stories: main suspect in the hazing death of Ateo Castillo is back in the country. Ralph Tranquilla returns from the U.S. to face murder charges. He vows to help in the investigation. 2 groups preparing an impeachment complaint against Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales. But some Liberal Party members are calling for upholding the Ombudsman's independence. And the force is strong in the new Star Wars trailer. We give you a fresh look at the much-anticipated Star Wars: The Last Jedi. He's back to face the music. Hazing suspect Ralph Tranquilla returned to the country with his mother today. The Manila police say he can shed light on what happened to law student Ateo Castillo on September 17th. But for now, Tranquilla is free because there is no warrant for his arrest. Our Rex Remigio has the latest.
Hazing suspect Ralph Tranquilla is back in the country 3 weeks after he was linked to the death of Horacio Acio Castillo. With him, his mother Rosemary Tranquilla, who is facing an obstruction of justice charge for allegedly helping her son escape to the U.S. They arrived shortly before lunchtime and were escorted by the police and a number of lawyers. Tranquilla refused to speak to the media.
Ano masabi mo na lang? Ano masabi mo?
The police invited the mother and son to cooperate in the investigation by issuing a sworn statement. But the Tranquillas refused to heed the call, even an offer for police security escorts on the way home.
Bakit siya uuwi na? Ba't di siya didiretso sa MD or NBI?
Hindi, actually kasi hindi naman namin siya, wala kaming holdings para sa kanya. Wala yung intervention namin para dito.
So magagawa nyo lang iimbitahan siya?
Actually, hindi namin siya imbitahan. Nagre-request lang kami. To communicate, nakipag-coordinate na kami sa mga lawyer na.
Manila Police Homicide Division Chief Romel Anicete says they will only arrest Tranquilla with a court warrant. But at this point, the case is still at the preliminary investigation stage in the Justice Department. Authorities are still hoping that Tranquillas would help shed light on the hazing death in the next hearings, such as fraternity members present during the initiation rites and how Acio died. Tranquilla's lawyer Roel Ilagan says his clients want to prove their innocence. He says the Tranquillas have no plans to escape as the return tickets were already booked.
Rest assured that our clients will file their counter affidavits, they will respect the legal process, and they will participate in the legal proceedings.
Rex Remigio, CNN Philippines.
The lawyer of the Castillo family, attorney Lorna Capunan, says Ralph Tranquilla must be charged. Speaking to CNN Philippines, Capunan adds there's a chance Tranquilla can be offered witness protection. That's only if he appears to be the least guilty.
He must be charged, no? And he is already a respondent. He's among the 40 respondents. He has to give his counter affidavit on October 24. Now, as a matter of law, if you are the least guilty or if you appear to be the least guilty, then you can be offered a state as witness protection, as a witness protection program. No? But if you are the most guilty, I think we will leave that to the DOJ.
President Duterte tours an Australian Navy vessel that's here for a visit, one of two that arrived in Manila today for that goodwill visit. Our senior correspondent, Ina Andalong, tells us more.
It's the biggest ship ever built for the Royal Australian Navy. Clearly, it's something that the Philippine Navy would want to have. No less than the Commander-in-Chief, President Duterte, was given a tour of HMS Adelaide, docked here at the Port of Manila, and will be heading to Subic tomorrow, where it will spend the next 5 days. Now, why is this naval ship here in the country? The visit is part of the Australian Navy's tour around the Indo-Pacific region to promote peace and stability through training and capacity building. Speaking to the Australian troops, the President said he welcomes this effort in the wake of nuclear threats from North Korea. He also told the troops about the country's problem in terrorism and said he expects the Marawi siege to end in a week. Adelaide's main capability is humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and while it's here, the Australian Navy will be showcasing the ship's features to their local counterparts. Just to give you an idea on what is on board this ship, it has a 40-bed hospital with 2 operating theaters. Its flight deck can carry up to 12 helicopters. It can carry more than 100 vehicles and 2,100 tons of cargo. It can move about 1,000 military personnel with their equipment in times of disaster. President Duterte was shown the ship's well-docked medical facility, flight deck, and the bridge and flight control office. And at the end of his speech, in jest, he said, if the Australian Navy decides to decommission HMS Adelaide, they are more than free to dock it back here at the Port of Manila. Ina Andalong, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte himself is pushing for the impeachment of 2 high-level officials, Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno and Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales, both appointees of former President Noynoy Aquino. Sereno is facing an impeachment complaint at the House of Representatives. Last week, lawmakers found sufficient grounds in the complaint. Next on the table, finding out whether it has probable cause. Mr. Duterte, meanwhile, accuses Ombudsman Morales of partiality in tackling cases of officials, particularly those in the opposition during the Aquino administration. These 2 groups are preparing an impeachment complaint against Ombudsman Morales, but Liberal Party congressmen expressed their support in upholding the independence of the Office of the Ombudsman. Our Joyce Ilas tells us more.
Greco Belgica, a former senatorial candidate in Zatanggulang Demokrasya, want Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales impeached. In their draft impeachment complaint, Belgica claims Morales betrayed the public's trust for indulging in selective justice.
Kasi ang ombudsman ay namimili lamang ng kakasuhan kung perceived hostile or hindi sila kakampi ni Pinoy, agad-agad merong kaso. Pero kung LP, mukhang natatagalan ng kaso.
Belgica also claims in his complaint that Morales violated the Constitution when she failed to act promptly on complaints. The complaint states that numerous high-profile cases the Office of the Ombudsman filed before the Sandigan Bayan had been dismissed due to inordinate delays attributable to the Ombudsman.
Tinutulugan yung mga kaso, hindi inaksyonan sa tamang panahon. So masyadong delayed, that's what we call inordinate delay.
Some families of the SAF 44 are also planning to file an impeachment complaint against Morales. Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, the lawyer of 11 of the SAF 44 families, says among the grounds for impeachment the families will file is culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust when it downgraded the cases filed against former President Noynoy Aquino.
It appears to me that the calls to have the Ombudsman impeached is now snowballing because of recent developments. And I think we are garnering more and more support in the lower house.
The Liberal Party initiated a House resolution expressing the lower chamber's intent to support, preserve, and protect the constitutional independence and integrity of the Office of the Ombudsman. As of Wednesday, 26 congressmen have already signed the resolution.
It's not a mere symbolic resolution. It's a concrete, constructive statement of the signatories, the President, should respect the independence of constitutional bodies like the Ombudsman.
Opposition lawmaker Albay Representative Edsel Lagman doesn't believe the impeachment complaint against Morales will prosper in the lower chamber. But with the president's call to impeach Morales, Topacio and Luna are confident their impeachment complaints would fly in the lower chamber. Joyce Ila, CNN Philippines.
The lawyers of Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno are seeking the right to cross-examine potential witnesses in her impeachment case. Speaking to CNN Philippines, the lawyers expressed dismay over last week's hearing of the lower house. They said lawmakers approved the grounds for impeachment without looking into witness accounts.
We were kind of disappointed because during the hearing our expectation was that the Congress, the committee, would actually go behind the allegations, look for the evidence, look for the substance of the complaint, but they didn't do that, and so we're moving into this.
She has that right under the rules of impeachment of the House of Representatives. There is a section there that expressly mentions cross-examination following direct examination. Okay. So after the complainant presents witnesses, the respondent, the Chief Justice in this case, has the right to confront these witnesses.
Catch the full interview and the replay of The Source tonight at 7:30. This is watching Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. We will tell you a story of a young cancer survivor whose case is a testament that the medical cannabis can ease the suffering of the sick. And heads up for Metro Manila residents, mark your calendars and plan ahead. You may be in for a long break next month. Details when Newsnight returns. Welcome to Facebook Live here on CNN Philippines Newsnight. President Duterte visiting the Australian or Royal Australian Navy ship, one of the largest, or if not the largest, Australian ship in the Royal Australian Navy. President Duterte, of course, visiting as not just president but commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Speak some for viewers right now from around the world. Gina Cardenas, who's watching from Malaysia. Randy Berioso, who is in Italy. Ronelyn Geronimo, who is in Israel. Elmer Espiritu, who's watching from Ireland. Arvin Ancheta, who is watching from New Zealand. Nida Pangan, who is watching from Monaco. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Tell us what you think of all the stories tonight. Not just the top stories, all the stories here in Newsnight. You can comment down below, or if you're on Twitter, you can tweet us, tag us at CNN Philippines. This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. As congressmen are poised to approve the medical cannabis bill, advocates are appealing to them to keep an open mind. They say the measure will help Filipinos who can use cannabis to relieve pain from certain illnesses and in some cases use it as a cure. Our senior correspondent Ruth Cabal tells us the story of a patient who swears by the benefits of cannabis. Here's part one of her special report.
Teddy, not his real name, was heartily eating his lunch of fried chicken when he was introduced to us. Except for thinning hair and seemingly frail body, there is hardly any sign that he recently recovered from stage 4 brain cancer. Early last year, Teddy was diagnosed with several tumors in the brain. Now, all tumors are gone after undergoing radiation and chemotherapy. But his father also swears by how cannabis oil, or what they call black vitamins, has restored Teddy's quality of life.
He has a hard time sleeping. He's weak, talagang loss of appetite. Makikita mo talaga na baksak yung itsura. In 3 days' time, he was sleeping like a baby.
Ngayon?
Wala na. We are completely off the medications, cancer-free. Okay. He's cancer-free, totally cancer-free.
John stresses his son's doctors did not prescribe cannabis. It was from friends that he learned of how cannabis can treat chemo-induced nausea and vomiting. John posted an inquiry on a Facebook group of local medical advocates, and to his surprise, a package from an anonymous sender arrived at their home.
Tinikbang ko bago ko ibigay sa anak ko, di ba? So, meron ka pa rin kasing fear na this is foreign. Ang application niya is just simple. Ibabad mo lang sa ilalim ng dila. Drops lang.
His father tells CNN Philippines he doesn't know who and where exactly the cannabis oil comes from. Someone just delivers it to him. He says he's very much aware of the risks. Cannabis, commonly known as marijuana, is a prohibited substance in the country. Possession and use of marijuana carries a penalty of 12 years to life imprisonment and fines of 100,000 to 10 million pesos.
Yes, it is illegal.
And that's risky.
Yes, it is also very risky. But also I'm banking on the word of the President that he is for medical cannabis. I don't think na may nakulong na ata sa Pilipinas na dahil gusto niyang i-save yung buhay ng anak niya.
President Duterte had indicated he is open to allowing medical marijuana in the country. The House Committee on Health passed the Compassionate Medical Cannabis Act, the farthest it has gone since it was first proposed in 2014. The bill legalizes and regulates the use of medical cannabis for diseases such as cancer, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, and HIV/AIDS. But among the bill's strongest oppositors, the country's biggest group of doctors, the 76,000-strong Philippine Medical Association.
In the Philippines, without a thorough study on the matter, evidence-based studies, the medical profession cannot just accept anything that has no basis. Testimonials are not enough.
The Health Department agrees that more studies should be done, especially to separate medical cannabis strains from those used for recreation. The most common cannabinoids, THC and CBD, work by mimicking the body's natural endocannabinoid system, which regulates thinking, body movement, pain, and sensory processing. THC gives the euphoric or high feeling, while CBD is believed to have more health benefits without the high. 29 countries have legalized medical cannabis, as well as several states in the U.S. If ever, the Philippines will be the first in Asia to legalize medical cannabis. Ruth Cabal, CNN Philippines.
In part 2, we'll look at the chances of the medical cannabis bill becoming a law, but is there even a need for this? As the Health Department says, there's already an existing system allowing processed cannabis drugs into the country. Transport authorities and Uber come face-to-face again, the latest in their long line of disagreements, Uber's additional fees for trips outside Metro Manila. Authorities go as far as saying Uber is turning out like taxis that haggle with passengers. Our Claire Yao reports.
Good news for Uber riders. You won't need to pay your surcharges just yet. Uber is still suspended from imposing surcharges on trips to the south and the east of Metro Manila. Commuters going to Bicutan and Sucat were charged an additional 80 pesos for their trips. Those going to Alabang, Philinvest, and Susana Heights paid an added 100 pesos. For those heading to Cavite, they were charged an additional 100 pesos as well, while those coming from Cainta, Antipolo, Taytay, and San Mateo had to pay 60 pesos extra. The surcharge is imposed on top of the base fare, the surge price, and the toll fees. Uber justifies that it needs to compensate drivers for servicing so-called low-demand areas. In Antipolo, for example, it takes drivers half an hour to get another passenger. In Makati or Ortigas, it only takes 10 minutes.
Uber Systems Inc. does not gain anything from the surcharge. It goes directly and solely to the driver and operator account.
The LTFRB, however, grilled Uber for failing to disclose the surcharge. Uber started imposing the surcharge as early as December 2015, but never mentioned it to authorities in the last few years.
There were several incidents when we met with management of Uber for the computation of the fare, where we got your running time, where we got your distance, where we got your rate. How come the surcharge was never brought out?
This could be an additional obstacle for Uber as it tries to convince the LTFRB it should be reaccredited. It's already been fined close to 200 million pesos for different violations. Uber now has 10 days to submit another position paper detailing how they computed the surcharges and what areas would be covered. Claire Yao, CNN Philippines.
Good news for overseas Filipino workers. The government is creating a special bank to meet their needs. President Duterte issues an executive order forming the Overseas Filipino Bank, or OFB. Under EO 44, Philippine Postal Savings Bank, a subsidiary of the Philippine Postal Corporation, is transferring its shares to the Land Bank of the Philippines to create the financial institution. Mr. Duterte ordered Land Bank to provide capital to the OFB. The country shipped more goods abroad in August. Exports reached more than $5.5 billion. That's an improvement of 9.3% from the same period last year. The government pointed to the rise in shipment of major commodities in August. That includes gold, machinery and transport equipment, electronics and coconut oil, among others. Electronic products account for more than half of total export revenue. Property giant SM Prime is having its first mall in Cagayan Valley. SM Center Tuguegarao downtown is opening on Thursday, October 12th. It is at the corner of Luna and Mabini streets, which are the main roads of the city. It is the 65th SM Mall in the country. In other news, leaders of Southeast Asian nations will gather here in the country next month for a yearly summit. Authorities in Metro Manila are already gearing up for the big event by first declaring a holiday. Makoy Popioco reports.
The Metro Manila mayors declare no classes in all levels for both private and public schools in Metro Manila from November 16th to 17th. The reason? To grant a longer break just in case Malacanang orders a suspension of classes and work during the ASEAN Summit on November 13th to 15th.
Holiday or not, at least the mayors supported yung last 2 days na walang pasok so that earlier makapagplano na yung mga pamilya.
Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista says it's up to Malacanang if it will declare a suspension of classes and work during the ASEAN Summit. Bautista heads the Metro Manila Council, which serves as an advisory board for the MMDA. The agency also presented its own proposal to the mayors, starting with a dry run for the convoy of the heads of state who will travel from Clark, Pampanga to Pasay City. U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are among the heads of state who are expected to join the summit. The convoy will pass through normal traffic, but traffic enforcers and the police will clear the roads for faster transit. The council also discussed other proposed traffic schemes, including exempting carpooling from the number coding on EDSA.
Encourage natin ng tao is mag-carpooling sila para at least sama-sama sila dyan, mabawasan ang sasakyan. Kung tatlo kayo sa isang sasakyan, wala na kayong coding, no, ililift natin ang coding nila and then pwede kayo dumaan sa EDSA. At any time.
Authorities say, under the proposed scheme, cars with only a driver inside may be banned, while vehicles carrying 2 people will still be subjected to the old coding policy.
MMDA officials, however, say the road tests for all the proposed schemes will take place early next year.
Kung magkagawa tayo ng mga panibagong mga sistemang ganyan, siguro maghinay-hinay tayo lalong-lalo na ngayon na panahon ng Christmas season.
MMDA Chair Danilo Lim says while plans for the holiday season and the ASEAN Summit have yet to be ironed out, he says the agency is working hard to prepare for this. Makoy Popioco, CNN, Philippines.
Find out the secret to becoming an ideal leading man straight from the original heartthrob Aga Mulak. And we get a sneak peek at the 8th episode of the Star Wars franchise, The Last Jedi. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough.
Welcome back to Facebook Live here in CNN Philippines Newsnight. There are no classes in Metro Manila on November 16 and 17. That is Thursday and Friday. These are the 2 days just after the ASEAN Summit concludes. The ASEAN Summit is happening November 12th, Sunday, until the 15th, Wednesday. It was a decision by the Metro Manila Council, that's made of the mayors of Metro Manila, to call off classes in those 2 days, November 16 and 17. although there has been as yet no declaration of a holiday for those 2 days. Let's greet some of our viewers right now. Let Yashir Salaguste, who's watching from South Africa, Isagani Reyes, who's in Australia, Lovely C, is this Jemima, watching from Singapore, Ruel Bautista, who's in Dubai, Lily Traboco, who's in the United Arab Emirates. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Please stay with us until the end of the show. Welcome back. Aga Mulak was a sought-after leading man of his time. On the eve of his return to the big screen, the actor shares with CNN Philippines a look back at his stellar career and some future plans. Our Tristan Odalo has that story.
Lahat kaya kong kalimutan para sa'yo.
He is dubbed as the country's original heartthrob and the ultimate leading man of the 80s and the 90s. But for Aga Mulak, playing the role was never easy.
Wala akong gagawing pelikula na hindi ko gusto. Wala akong gagawing pelikula na hindi ko iniisip ang mga viewers. Para iniisip ko kasi how my viewers will react. Will they believe? Diba?
Aga started his career as child actor in 1975, working with veteran actors like Fernando Poe Jr. and Christopher De Leon. He rose to stardom when he became one of the leads in Viva Films' teenage film, Bagets.
Sa atin, mas gusto kong gumawa ng simple na pelikula na tama ang paggawa at totoo ang panglasa.
From Lea Salonga, Sharon Cuneta, Claudine Barreto to any other popular actress in the 90s, Aga's name was on the list of their ideal leading men. Now Aga reveals there's no secret in becoming one.
Kaya when they watch my films, parang they're part of the experience. They're part of my joy, so they feel that also. When I'm in love in the film, they feel that also. When I hurt in the film, or when I'm hurting in the film, they feel it also.
Aga reveals he's ready to work with previous leading ladies, especially with the clamor to reunite with Sana Maulit Muli love team, Lea Salonga.
Sana Maulit Muli, andyan na yan, ano? Classic na siya. So if we do a movie again, dapat yan mas hihigitan niya Sana Maulit Muli. Pag hindi niya nahigitan yan, wag na natin gawin. So it's as simple as that. If we find a project, then it's gonna happen.
He also wants to star in independent films, TV teleseries, and action films. A list of many firsts for a well-loved leading man.
There's more to come. So yeah, I'm back. I was never gone. Nagpahinga lang.
Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Were Associate Justices Presbitero Velasco, Teresita Leonardo de Castro, Diosdado Peralta, Lucas Bersamin, Mariano del Castillo, Samuel Martires, Noel Tiham, Andres Reyes, and Alexander Gesmundo. Those who voted to grant her petition were Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio, Associate Justices Estela Perlas Bernabe, Marvic Leonen, Alfred Benjamin Caguiwa, and Francis Hardeleza. The High Court ruled that the Regional Trial Court has jurisdiction over the Lima's cases and not the Sandigan Bayan. It added the Sandigan Bayan's jurisdiction is limited to violations of the anti-graft laws and do not extend to violations of the drugs law. It upheld that Judge Juanita Guerrero did not commit grave abuse of discretion in issuing an arrest warrant against De Lima, even before resolving the senator's motion to quash. The court said Guerrero considered all evidence at the preliminary investigation and did not disregard her duty to determine probable cause personally. The court also took note of the affidavits of NBI agent, former Corrections Chief Rafael Ragos, and convicted drug lord Peter Ko, which outlined a case of illegal drug trading committed in conspiracy when De Lima was then the Justice Secretary. Supreme Court spokesperson Theodore Tess says De Lima can still appeal the decision.
Under the rules, everyone who loses has a recourse to file a motion.
De Lima's legal woes are far from over. She's still facing drug cases at Muntinlupa Regional Trial Court, Branch 205 and 206. She's yet to be arraigned at Branch 205, while Branch 206 has yet to issue an arrest warrant against De Lima. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
De Lima's lawyer, Florin Hilbay, questions the High Court's decision. He says convicted felons are not qualified to be state witnesses. Hilbay adds in the Philippines, fiction is more important than fact. The Liberal Party also reacts to the Supreme Court decision. In a statement, the LP says De Lima is innocent and is a victim of political persecution. It adds De Lima's case cannot be tried by the wrong court. The Liberal Party also expresses full faith that justices will be convinced that freeing Senator De Lima is the correct and just way forward. We're also getting reactions from De Lima's fellow legislators. Minority Senator Frank Drilon says there's still a chance for De Lima.
I disagree, but I will respect the Supreme Court decision. I hope that I assume Senator De Lima will file a motion for reconsideration.
In a text message, Senate President Coco Pimentel says he respects the Supreme Court decision because they studied the case thoroughly. Pimentel says De Lima still has a second review of the case. More local news later on in the show. But first, a check on the top stories from around the world. At least 10 people are dead in Northern California as wildfires scorch counties in the U.S. state. As of Monday night, the deadly fires continue to rage across nearly 50,000 hectares of land, burning more than 1,500 homes and businesses. Over 100 people are receiving treatment for injuries and other health issues. Meanwhile, over 20,000 people evacuated from affected areas. The blaze began Sunday night and spread with explosive speed because of dry conditions. Striking change in the timeline of events in the Las Vegas shooting. Police now saying the lone gunman, Stephen Paddock, shot a Mandalay Bay security guard before he began firing onto the country music festival crowd. Police said the security guard was investigating an open-door alarm on the 32nd floor when Stephen Paddock shot through the door and injured him. Police earlier said the incident diverted Paddock from the mass shooting. Now authorities still do not know what made him stop firing into the crowd. And Catalonia's leader will address the region's parliament Tuesday. Carles Puigdemont had been expected to make the declaration to unilaterally split from Spain at the meeting. But Spain is determined to prevent the split in the wake of a banned referendum last week. France, meanwhile, warned Catalonia's independence would result in automatic expulsion from the European Union. The Commission on Appointments rejects another secretary, the fifth under the Duterte government. And netizens blow up social media as they get a new peek at a galaxy far, far away. Those stories next here in Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Welcome to Facebook Live here on CNN Philippines Newsnight. Ralph Tranguilla, one of those named in the charges for the Atio Castillo Hazing death, is back from the U.S. He flew in late this morning. He was with his mother at the time. They went straight to their lawyer's office in Quezon City. According to the lawyers, there is that offer from the DOJ for Tranguilla to be a state witness. We also spoke to Attorney Lorna Capunan about what she thought of Ralph Tranguilla's return. Capunan also talking about the exclusion or the move to exclude evidence that was taken from the so-called frat lib, where the hazing of Atio Castillo reportedly or allegedly took place. Capunan saying that it has no real effect on the case. We'd like to greet some of our viewers now. Klaus Ariola, who's watching from Singapore. Mike Gusinga, who is in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Ariel Pontigon, who is in Jeddah. Jack Pagdanganan, who is in India. Winfred Hilao Jr., who is watching from Quezon City. Thank you very much. Please keep sending in your comments, your thoughts and opinions about all our top stories tonight. This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. The country just lost its chief health official. The Commission on Appointments rejected Pauline Ubial as health secretary. After a series of hearings, 13 of the 25 members voted against her confirmation. Lawmakers grilled Ubial about her controversial decisions and policies, including the distribution of condoms to high school students, questionable appointments, and issues of graft and corruption. They also raised concerns about Ubial's 15 foreign travels in a span of just 1 year in office.
We have a rule na pag umabot na ng 13, reject or confirm, we stop the counting and destroy the ballots. Since we arrived at a minimum of 13 votes, not to proceed with the confirmation.
Ubial is the 5th cabinet appointee of President Duterte to be rejected by the powerful Commission on Appointments. The commission previously rejected the appointment of Foreign Secretary Perfecto Yasay, Environment and Natural Resources Secretary Gina Lopez, Agrarian Reform Secretary Rafael Mariano, and the Social Welfare Secretary Judy Taguiwalo. Moving on to news from the regions, employees of a hospital in Cagayan de Oro react to the news of a former colleague now accused of involvement in a foiled terror plot in New York City in the United States. And New Zealand is looking at possible investments in Cebu. That and more stories from senior correspondent Ruth Cabal.
Colleagues of a doctor who is wanted in the United States for his involvement in a terror plot are shocked. Personnel at the Northern Mindanao Medical Center in Cagayan de Oro City described Dr. Russell Salik as a quiet man who had no negative feedback from his co-workers or patients. Salik served at the government-run hospital for his orthopedic residency until April 30, 2016. Since then, his whereabouts are unknown. The U.S. government said Salik funded the bombing attempt in New York's Times Square and subway station in 2016. Salik surrendered to Philippine authorities in April 2017 after being informed of the charges against him. U.S. federal officials in New York are asking the Philippines to extradite Salik so he can face trial in the U.S. The New People's Army has claimed responsibility for the latest arson attack on a pineapple plantation in Quezon, Bukidnon. About 70 armed men attacked a facility of the Davao Agricultural Corporation on Sunday. They burned company structures and equipment and took away 15 firearms from the security guards. Authorities arrested a female member of the NPA in a pursuit. The New Zealand government is pushing for closer trade ties with Cebu province. New Zealand ambassador to the Philippines, David Strachan, said they are exploring potential investments in food and beverage, wood processing and furniture, and information technology innovation sectors in Cebu. Strachan said these industries in Cebu will answer the needs of New Zealand's small and medium enterprises. Ruth Cabal, CNN Philippines.
Sports news now with Miko Halili. Miko, tell us about that rivalry at the PBA. What's it all about?
No, that's absolutely correct. There is now this big rivalry in the PBA Finals in a rematch everyone's waiting for in the PBA Governor's Cup. Barangay Ginebra and the Meralco Bolts will again battle for supremacy in the finals. Our correspondent Paulo Del Rosario explains why these teams can't wait to meet each other in Game 1.
It is hard to forget the final seconds of the 2016 PBA Governor's Cup. It was a moment that Ginebra fans will forever remember and that Meralco fans would be eager to forget. A year later, with the same imports and the addition of Greg Slaughter, Renedel de Ocampo, and Jared Dillinger to this year's cast, the two teams meet yet again. For Ginebra, it is a chance for them to defend the title. For Meralco, it is their chance to get their revenge. Despite beating the Bolts last time out, you can bet Ginebra will come out eager to win again.
We're still going to be hungry. I think that's one of the big things. If you just come off a win and you haven't experienced any losses, then you have a tendency to relax. I don't think we'll relax this conference because we're hungry.
Meralco, on the one hand, is riding waves of emotions going into the finals, fueling their passion to win, the health problems of Meralco Governor Al Panlilio, and the failing health of Jared Dillinger's grandmother. Right now, the motivation goes beyond the championship.
There's so much going on, so much more than basketball, you know. I mean, our boss Al Panlilio battling with cancer, and you know, my grandma, you know, she's shortly going to pass away soon, and just the whole essence of this whole, you know, round 2 rematch, same import, I mean, you can feel it.
Even before the ball is tipped, some of the players have already faced off on social media, particularly Dillinger and Ginebra's Joe DeVance. But they say that there is no animosity, just a very strong competitive fire.
it's not about Joe versus Jared, you know, it's about Ginebra versus Morocco. We're both competitive. We're going to be competitive probably to the day we die, you know. So now that we're facing each other in the finals, what more, you know, for that competitiveness to come out.
In the end, the game is played on the court and not won with words.
No matter what you say, you still got to go out and play. So what's important is how you play, not what you say. And that's the way I always played the game. That's the way I coached the game. Let's go out and suit up, and let's go out and throw the ball up, and let's go.
Game 1 of the PBA Governors Cup Finals between Ginebra and Meralco is set for Friday in Lucena City. Paulo Del Rosario, CNN Philippines.
Tonight at 6:30, we will speak to the 4-peat champions of UAP Women's Table Tennis, the LaSalle Lady Paddlers, live on Sports Desk. I'm Miko Halili, and back to you, Pia.
Thank you, Miko. We'll tell you why the force is strong in the new trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi when we return. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
I've seen his raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then.
Welcome back, Facebook Live, CNN Philippines Newsnight. Pauline Ubial rejected by the Commission on Appointments as Health Secretary after a very long hearing today. Also, in the next segment of the show, we'll give you a little preview of the trailer of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Everybody's waiting for it. It's showing in December. Many things to look forward to in the plot and the storyline. We'd like to greet some of our viewers right now. Richard Laktawen, who's in Hawaii. James Rivera, who's in Dubai. This is Soon Santos, who's in Iceland. For updates on our latest stories, you can subscribe to our Facebook page by clicking the like and follow button on top. If you're on Twitter, you can tweet us, tag us at CNN Philippines. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Welcome back. Let's now check how roads are looking in this gloomy weather. If you're about to take EDSA Estrella, bring more patience as traffic, both lanes heavy. Expect an excruciating drive heading north of Shaw Boulevard, south to Hilpuyat and Ayala Avenues. Taking you south of Metro Manila this time, this is Magallanes northbound at grade below the Skyway. Traffic on this stretch is heavy, so expect to add more minutes to your drive heading toward EDSA, Pasay, and Makati. Twin arrivals are getting the attention of people online. First, of a hazing death suspect, and on a lighter note, that of a trailer from a galaxy far, far away. Our Ruth Cabal has details, plus some social media reactions in tonight's Connect.
Netizens are weighing in on the return of a principal suspect in the hazing death of Horacio Atio Castillo to the country today. Ralph Tranguilla arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport before noon from the U.S. via Taiwan. He's a member of the Aegis Juris Fraternity that's under scrutiny for 22-year-old Castillo's death. This Twitter user points out suspects normally get booked, jailed, and have their mugshot taken, but Tranguilla skips that and gets to go home. Another one can't help but ask, quote, privileged pa rin? The Manila Police Department said there was no warrant of arrest for Tranguilla, which was why he was able to head home after leaving the airport. Meanwhile, for this netizen, seeing Tranguilla return makes her feel that answers to the violent death of Castillo are on hand. And on a lighter note,